this is Rye Wolf. You're listening to Texas Toast Podcast.
So let's go.
Cheers, everyone. Welcome to the Texas Toast Podcast. I'm Miss Helen, and I am very excited to introduce to the audience Rye Wolf. Hello, Rye. How are you today?
Hi, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, we've been following your music, and of course, you had a great radio release where the yellow meets the blue off of your album, Randall County Reverb, which we talked about here on the podcast. So let's talk about your style of music and what your musical, who some of your musical influences are.
Oh man, they go back. They go way back. I actually grew up in Oklahoma and spent a lot of my summers down at Lake Texoma with my granddad, and often in his pickup or on the radio was bluegrass music. So really the storytelling and the musicianship and everything about bluegrass was kind of my initial like, wow, man, this is powerful stuff. And then, of course, growing up in Oklahoma and right near the Texas border too, we'd go see country music festivals and blues festivals growing up, and so I'd say a lot of classic country, bluegrass, and blues music is really what got me interested in music initially. But in my house, my parents were often listening to the Temptations, Otis Redding, Sam Cooke. Really great soul singers, and so vocally for me, that's probably where my home base is somewhere in the soul area. But I love the storytelling of country music and bluegrass music. It's just it speaks to real folks and what they go through. And I think a lot of my music, yeah, I've heard people say my music sounds like the prairie, which makes
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
which makes a lot of sense. I mean, I've spent the majority of my life in the prairie, and so I try to speak to those folks and tell the stories and struggles of those folks, and I think that comes through in the music.
It certainly does. It certainly sets you apart. I like the prairie part because I was thinking everything nature, everything outdoors, and then lyrically and the storytelling that you have in your music is just totally outstanding. So let's talk about, okay, so you were in music prior,
I
and I
was, yeah.
love the yeah, so let's talk a little bit about that first portion of your music.
Yeah, so out of college, I picked up the guitar in college. I had never really picked up a guitar before, and was inspired by some of the young blues guitarists that were coming up, like Johnny Lang and Kenny Wayne Shepherd, and they were about my age, but they were just killing it. Like, well, playing with some monster bands, and just I was like, wow, and it just inspired me to pick up the guitar, and so I started picking up the guitar, and then probably within a year, I was playing open mics, and I got a chance to go out to the West Coast with a few artists and tour with them. Just because I think the internet, sharing music on the internet was starting to become a big thing at that time, and some people had heard of some of the stuff I was putting out and said, hey, why don't you come along and tag along for a couple weeks, and that kind of started my, I guess, career in playing live shows. And so I started doing like a little college scene, and kind of the indie college acoustic scene at that time was pretty big.
Right.
And of course, Red Dirt music in Oklahoma was really coming on strong. And so
Hmm.
I started playing a lot in Stillwater, Oklahoma, where a lot of Red Dirt artists got their start. And
Yes. Like,
so yeah, I hustled and I played. I was playing out live for probably 3 years straight, and man, it just got to the point where I was having trouble paying the bills, and it was just tough. It was just tough, and I said, I don't want to. I want to be in a position where I can, where I have money and I'm not sleeping on couches all the time. But so I decided to finish my degree and pursue a career in college coaching, which had always been also a passion of mine, and so yeah, I finished my bachelor's degree and my master's degree, and I got a opportunity out here at West Texas A&M. That's what brought me out here to West Texas,
mhm.
and I tried to kind of balance the music thing and the coaching thing for a couple years, but eventually one had to give, and so I ended up hanging up my guitar and putting it in the closet, and focusing on my coaching career. And fast forward 13, 14 years later, and we hit COVID,
Yeah.
and I haven't done anything with the guitar in probably 9, 10 years. But all of a sudden I find myself with a lot of time on my hands, and um, I started picking up the guitar again and started, writing about some of the things that I'd been through. And I think it takes living life to really create good art. And so I felt like I was at a place now where I was like, wow, man, I have a different perspective on things. I have maybe a better perspective. Um, and so all these songs just started pouring out of me. And I got to a point where I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to give this another shot. And so I decided to retire from a nice, cozy career in college coaching and pursue music full time.
So did your athletes that you had on your track and field team, did they know you were a musician? Did you ever sing for
Not
them, or did you
always,
ever bring
no.
in any?
Not always. I mean, at first when I started coaching, they did, because it's just something that I did all the time. But I would say in the middle of my career, towards the end, no. I mean, they had no idea that I did anything musically before. And then, but yeah, I started picking it up again, towards the end of my career, and started actually playing some shows out of South Padre Island, and kind of just getting out there a little bit. And they were like, "Oh, hey, you sing too? You write songs too?" And then they started, giving me a hard time about it. But I said, "Yeah, it's something I might give a shot again."
Well, you had huge streaming success with Blood Red River. Let's talk about that song and kind of pick it apart and tell me about the inspiration behind that.
Yeah, so I like I said, I spent a lot of my summers at Lake Texoma. Spent a lot of my summers near the Red River, crossing the Red River into
Hmm.
Texas, back from Texas to Oklahoma. Uh, Following all these blues festivals and country music festivals, and really that song is about my kind of my origin story, about how I came into music, and how it was a really tough, it was really challenging, because at the beginning I didn't have a lot of support. There was a lot of people like, why are you doing this? You have potential to do other things. You know, why would you give it up for this? And so it was pretty tough. But yeah, so it's an origin story, and really it's kind of a bluesy song. I had that's kind of my roots too. So I had a guy named Justin Johnson, who's a phenomenal blues slide player out of Nashville, come and play on the record with me. And yeah, and it just took off.
And then also your radio releases. What was it like when you released your first song to radio?
So the first song to radio, that was something that I was a little nervous too. I didn't know if
Sure.
I didn't know if I had the material. I didn't know if I just, it's something I'd never done before. But some people had heard the song. It's called Hurricane.
Hmm.
And some people had heard it before, and they were like, yeah, I think you should push it. I think it will do well, you know? And so I said, you know what, we're going to do it. We went all in, pushed it to radio. And I think it went into the top 50 of the Texas country charts. And at that point I was like, okay, maybe I can do this. So that gave me the confidence to push forward and keep doing it.
Yeah. And the reason why I asked that, because that is a huge step for artists to just get out there and put their music out to radio. So I like to kind of hear the background and the perspective. So your current radio single out right now is Easy on Me, and you are having success with that one.
Yeah, and it's been out about, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks now, and
Mhm.
stations are starting to pick it up. And yeah, really, that song initially on Spotify, when I released it, it blew up. It hit a couple of the big Spotify country playlists, and I think it had 50,000 streams within the first couple weeks. And but yeah, we were talking about it. We knew Where the Yellow Meets Blue was one of the singles we wanted to
Mhm.
release, and we thought we'd follow up with Easy on Me. And yeah, it's a song that means a lot to me. It's really about the folks that have supported me in my life, and folks that are supporting me now when I'm out here doing this music thing, and how their unconditional support, it just makes it easy. It makes it easy
Mhm.
to take chances and go for it. So yeah, it's a song that means a lot to me.
Yes, it's a good, strong, solid song. And I do want to go back to Where the Yellow Meets Blue, because when I first heard that song, it's just like there's some songs that you hear as like in my business and you're previewing new music, and it's like just one of those songs that picks up, and it's like I think this song has been around in my life forever because it's just amazing. I love that song.
Well, it's always been my goal to, and I had a producer I was working with early on in my career, named Mitch Dane out of Nashville, and he goes, "Your objective should always be to make a timeless song.
Mm.
It should be to make a song that you could have heard 100 years ago or 100 years from now, right?" And so that's really what I try to do. And I think with Where the Yellow Meets Blue, it does strike a chord with some folks because I think everyone can relate to missing home and trying to get back home to the folks that they love. And I know for me at that time I'd been on the road quite a bit, and I usually get inspired to write when I'm on the road. And so yeah, I'd been on the road and I was like, man, I'm ready to drive up 87 and get home.
Right. So you've been busy. I want to talk about the Redbud sessions. Lots of
Yeah.
music on that project. Tell me the backstory on that one.
So that is a project that is near and dear to me too. I've always wanted to do a live acoustic album, and I had been listening to Johnny Cash, his American recordings quite a bit, and just loved the concept. He did it with Rick Rubin, and they basically sit in his living room and did 70 songs or something like that. And I think 13 made the original record. But when you listen to those recordings, it's just Johnny Cash and an acoustic guitar, and just basically telling stories about his life and his career and things like that. And I've been through a lot. I feel like I've lived through a lot of different lives, even at my fairly young age. Um, but yeah, that was part of the inspiration for it. And also, I wrote a song called Ode to Larry McMurtry, which is featured on a new book that just came out, Pastures of the Empty Page, that is about Larry McMurtry's life. And of course, Larry McMurtry is a classic Texas writer and has written about, has basically shaped a lot of cowboy culture and Western culture as far as what we see on the screen and what we hear in the movies and in the books and things like that. But I was honored to write a song about his life, and kind of just an ode to those old cowboys that are working hard every day, and then they sit down around a campfire at the end of the day and they kind of reflect on the day or the week ahead, or what they've done that week. And so it was really came from a kind of a storytelling type base. So but it's an acoustic live album is something I've always wanted to do. And I did maybe 2 or 3 takes of each song, and I said I'm not going to do any more, and I'm just going to take the best one. And it was just a one mic in a room with me and a guitar, and that's the album.
Yeah. Well, I would encourage everyone just to pull that up and just put it on and just listen. I mean, it's like it just takes it just it's calming, and it's just good stuff. So let's talk about you putting your band together, and the Rye Wolf and the Prairie Hawks, I understand is the name of your
Yeah,
band.
yeah,
So tell
that's
me
it.
about who's in your band and how you all got together.
So if anyone's followed me for the last year, they've probably seen Rick Fawcett, my pedal steel player, playing alongside me. We've been a duo for a long time, and he is just a legend around here in West Texas. And if any Nashville people come through here and hear Rick play, they're like, "Who is this guy? Like, he's amazing," But yeah, he's a fantastic pedal steel player. He's playing a lot of lap steel now with some of the kind of the rock stuff that we're doing, kind of the southern rock stuff that we're doing. But he's just an amazing slide player, and so he's been with me for a year and a half, and we've done some great stuff. We got open for Mark Chestnut last year, and do some other things. But and then another girl that's joined us, Katie Beth Mim. She's got some stuff coming out here pretty soon. She's a great vocalist, and so she does background vocals with the band. And then the two pieces that we just added, our drummer Chansley Stater and Craig Ames, they're from right here in town, and they used to be part of Zach Wilkerson's band. Zach
Wow.
Wilkerson, is
Hmm.
fantastic singer songwriter from here in Amarillo, and but they were with Zach when he was first getting started. So when they kind of saw what I was doing and kind of the vibe of what we were doing, they were excited to jump on, and they've just been fantastic additions to what we're doing.
That's great stuff. Good stuff there. Well, let's see. And then also, I mean, you have your band, but as far as your recording, you produce most of your stuff? Where do you record at? What's the backstory on your
Yeah,
projects coming together?
most of everything that I've put out, I've produced and self-recorded in my own studio. There's been pieces here and there that have been sent out to other studios, and recorded in other studios. Like the song "Easy on Me," Kylie King, who's Brandy Carlisle's fiddle player, she played on it, but she played on it out on the West Coast. So she did it in a studio there. And I've done some collabs with some other artists that have done stuff in their own studio. We just kind of kick things back and forth, which is the beauty of technology now.
Right,
But
right.
we've got me and the Prairie Hawks are working on a project right now, where I guess it was 3 weeks ago. We stepped in the studio for 2 days and we recorded 14 songs all in the same room.
Oh,
So yeah, we were all in the same room, set up drums, bass, guitars, everything. We wanted it to sound. We wanted folks to feel like they were in the room with us, on the recording and on the album, because that's the kind of energy we're bringing to the live shows. It's a good energetic
mhm.
live show, and we wanted people to feel that. So we went old school, man. We got in a room for 2 days and we recorded an album. And right now we're just kind of working on some stuff. We're working on a few overdubs with the guitars and some background vocals and things like that. And then we're going to start the mixing process here in a couple weeks, and then we should have some songs out to the folks probably by the end of 2023, hopefully.
Wow. You're busy.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
But you,
and I decided to go all in, so I
mhm.
got to go all in.
Well, and your prior career with you coaching, that's not easy. That's very disciplined and long hours as well.
It's tough. It was really tough, and I was always a proponent of chop wood, carry water, keep taking steps forward every day, getting better at the craft that you love, and that's what this
Mhm.
is. Every day we're trying to get better and find ways that we can push ourselves creatively, and I think that's the only way to go about it.
Right. So bookings, they're coming along pretty good. Any big shows coming up that like it's kind of like on your radar, like I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, well, we're doing a big fall festival this weekend in New Mexico, right across the border, and it's going to be a great opportunity for us. But then there's another opportunity coming up at the Dancing Rabbit Music Festival in Oklahoma. They're going to announce their lineup this week, so I don't think I could probably tell the whole lineup, but it's an incredible lineup, and we're going to get to play that festival there in November coming up this year, and I'm extremely excited about it. It's with some major artists, so it'd be great.
Oh, good stuff. That's good. Well, we're so excited that we've had you on the podcast and it's been nice kind of following along, especially with your radio promoter, Jen. And
Oh, she's
that's
awesome. She's
yes,
fantastic.
she is absolutely the best. Love her to death. And so I guess I got one last question before we wrap it up. If you were a cocktail, what would you be?
If I was a cocktail, I'd probably be a tequila and Coke.
All right. All right. Well, Rye Wolf, we look for great things from you, and I'm sure we'll be catching up down the road as some of your new projects and things progress for you. So thanks so much for taking the time and visiting with us.
Yeah, I hope so. We can catch up again. Thanks for having me.
For sure. Thanks so much, Rye.